Hey guys, today I am going to be answering the question that I get the most on my YouTube videos, so stay tuned. All right, guys, that was Antoine Bradford, Be My Everything. My name is Jessica. You guys have me on Wednesdays and Mondays on the radio. I love it. If you want to follow me on YouTube, check me out at Love at the Cross, Facebook, Love at the Cross. Or if you are listening on YouTube and you want to hear me on the radio, play some awesome music and have a great convo, you can go to radiovida.com. That's RADIOVIDA.com. You can click live or find a local station in your area. So today's topic, I am going to be talking about just how God can transition us from one thing to another, how he can set us free from the things that have us bound. And there's so much discussion when it comes to certain topics in the Bible, certain topics in our nation, in our communities. And one of the biggest topics that is discussed is the topic of homosexuality, you know? And ultimately what it comes down to is God loves us, right? He loves us, but he loves us too much to let us stay the same. At the same time, let me say this. I get so many, I work at my local church, and I have a lot of parents that will bring their children in and say, have realized that they just found out that their child is homosexual or got caught doing something, right? Whatever the case is, you know how that goes, right? And so, like many of us who have lived a homosexual lifestyle, usually it starts off with you got caught, right? And then you got thrown into counseling, or you got thrown to a pastor or something like that, and your parents like fix them, you know? I think a lot of times that's the natural reaction for many parents, not all, but many. And so oftentimes the child will become a recluse that will go back into their shell or play that part of, okay, I'm fixed, I'm fine now, until they get to go to college and they could be themselves and not have to conform to the ways and thought patterns of their parents. Now, let's take a step back. I myself lived a homosexual lifestyle since I was little, up until the age of 27, okay? I am 34 now. And in that, I went through that whole pattern. I went through the whole deal of, I was born this way. My parents started freaking out. They threw me in to speak to someone. So I played that game until I went to college, and then I was free to be me. I embraced the homosexual community. They embraced me. Life was good, right? And what it ultimately came down to was an encounter with God through various situations, not even relating it to homosexuality, but everything else that was going on in my life. I said, God, I need you. I'm tired of the suicidal thoughts, tired of the self-hate, tired of the low self-esteem, tired of drinking to try to mask my feelings, tired of jumping from one relationship to another, unhealthy relationships. I'm tired of this. And so I asked God into my life, and he began to change me. I was not focused on him changing my sexuality because I was comfortable in that. I was focused on him changing those voids and those holes on the inside of me that many of us, most of us, all of us have, okay, in one area or another. And we all pretty much go, well, I need to figure out how to fill these things. So we go throughout our lives trying to figure out how to fill these things, and nothing fully fills it. We keep going back to whatever source we use to pacify that feeling or that problem, that issue. It's like a Band-Aid, right? With a wound that's infected, and it's not getting any air to become healed. So I found God again, right? Because I grew up in the church, and I said, God, I need you. So he began to fill those voids and those holes on the inside of me. And then eventually I got to a place to where I was positioned. I was ready to receive him telling me that one thing I never wanted to hear ever in my life. And that was, Jessica, this is not the life I have for you. Boom, right there. It was like an atomic bomb, but I was ready to receive it. I've heard it before. I've felt it before, but I wasn't ready. So I pushed it aside. I chalked it up to, I'm just, just trying to follow the ideals and belief systems of my parents, but I was ready to receive it at that moment. So I said, okay to God. That was the end of 2011. Let me tell you my fears. My fears were, I've never, ever been physically attracted to guys to want to date them or spend the rest of my life with them. They were cute, but I never really wanted to be in a long-term relationship with them because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel natural. So my fears, like many of us being individuals who say yes to God and walk away from the LGBTQ community, that lifestyle, not the community, but the lifestyle, that there's a fear in stepping out. I said, okay, God, I'm ready to do this, fine, but in my heart, I'm thinking, I don't want to be single forever. I don't want to be a celibate Christian. I don't want to be one of those Christians who's just single forever because God didn't really change the homosexuality, but, I'm just doing an outward change kind of thing. I'm changing the outward appearance, but internally I am still, I still identify as homosexual. I was like, God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be one of those people. If your word says that you can do this, if your word says that you could change thoughts, change minds, change hearts, and if your word says that this is sin and you could change that in our life, then fine, I am trusting you to do the impossible. What it was is a leap of faith, and we all need to take a leap of faith in trusting God. We cannot do this thing without trusting him, without jumping into his arms, because oftentimes we say, God, well, tell me what's going to happen first. Tell me the end result first. Tell me how long it's going to take for you to change the way I think first. Tell me how long I'm going to have to be single first. Tell me when I'm going to get married first. It doesn't work like that. So from the end of 2007 to right now, 2018, what is this, July, right? I have been single. Now, if God would have told me that I was going to be single for 7 years, I would have definitely said, no, thank you. I am fine with my girlfriend. We're good to go. Why? Because I could not handle. I did not think that I could be single for that long. Why? Because I was addicted to relationships. Why? Because I needed people to validate me. Why? Because I didn't love myself. Why? Because I lived a lifestyle. I grew up in a lifestyle of where I was mentally abused or physically abused, emotionally abused. So I latched on to other people. Being by myself was terrifying. But God did not tell me the steps that were going to be involved from then to now. If he did, he knew that I couldn't handle hearing it and I would have walked away. God does not tell you each step, because if he tells you what each step will be, you might not be able to handle it. You may think that you can't bear that cross. You may think that you aren't strong enough, and you might just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to do this. Can't do it, right? That's fear. So it's been 7 years. And the very things that I have been afraid of, I am now confronting. Fear of being single. Fear of being by of not having a family. Fear of just like singleness alone is fearful for many people. So many people that I speak with, this is a legitimate fear, right? Because you look around, everyone's booed up, everyone's married, everyone's in relationships, except for you. And then people look at you with pity sometimes. And then they say the cliche things. Well, aren't you looking? Aren't you putting yourself out there? Well, maybe you should do your hair differently, dress differently. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about you guys, but that is so irritating when people say that, Oh, yeah, I never thought of that. I never thought maybe I should dress. I never thought that maybe I should put myself out there. I never thought. Come on. We think about these things constantly. It's taking those thoughts and putting them down and saying, you know what, God, It's not by my old nature that I will do things, meaning by going out to the club, going out to the bar, wearing clothes that other people will find attractive, because that's not what you've called me to. You have called me to you. And even in those dating relationships, what we're used to is pleasing other people or looking a certain way to please someone else. But when it's God doing the change, when it's God doing the transformation, when it's God linking two people together in a marriage union, all you need to do is be yourself. All you need to do is be yourself. That's the kind of stuff we want, right? We say that. That's the kind of relationship we want. That's the kind of marriage we want. But we always kind of tend to go back to the other way because we think that's what we need to do to reel someone in. So, in my singleness, I am learning what it means when God says that you need to be whole before you can get into another relationship. It's not two halves makes a whole. It's two wholes in Jesus that makes a complete union, a healthy union. A healthy union. And so in my singleness, I am learning how to be healthy. I'm learning how to be alone. I'm learning how to be happy on my own. I'm learning how to go out and enjoy life, even in my singleness. And in that singleness, in those times when it's just you by yourself, God has been, for me, God has been giving me different areas. He's been showing me areas within myself that I need to work on next. And he's like, okay, it's time for this. We got to work on this next. And he works on every area that needs to be worked on so that when he does take me to that next step, that next level, I'm prepared for it. He works on the people pleasing. He works on the low self-esteem. He works on the self-hate. He works on the suicidal thoughts. He works on the independent part of you that needs to be independent of your spouse, not always clinging, right? Sometimes we're like a chameleon. He's working on you knowing who you are in him, not who you are in someone else. So many times we define ourselves by who we are with someone else. And with each person that we get into a relationship with, we're a different person. Maybe not totally, but it's a slight change. We shape ourselves to form, to fit the puzzle piece of someone else instead of being shaped in Jesus and then allowing him to fit someone else to us. Do we really know who we are in him? If you say yes and you say, well, then I'm ready for a relationship, right? Then I'm going to say, well, think about all those areas in your life that you're struggling with, right? Those, people say this, I'm still trying to grasp it. They go, well, when I was finally comfortable being single, that's when God brought someone. So then our prayer is what? God, help me to be comfortable being single, right? That's our prayer. But there is a transition, there's a transformation that we have to go through, that we have to endure so that we are made whole and made complete. Has God totally delivered me from homosexuality? The answer is yes. People say, well, Jessica, do you ever find yourself looking at someone of the same sex? Yes. Often? No, not often. Every now and then, yes, but the question is why? Why every now and then? Maybe it's because I am choosing to lust after the flesh instead of resting in God and killing my flesh. Let me put it like this. The more I seek God, the more I lay down my thoughts, my feelings, and I pick up the cross and I follow God and I put him number one, the more he changes me. He changes the way I think, the way that I feel, right? And then I don't lust after women. I don't look to the left or look to the right. You know what I'm saying? My my thoughts about males or the opposite sex, right? They've begun to change. Now I find myself attracted to males, right? These things begin to change, and it's real change from the inside out, right? But when we turn our heads from God and we begin to look at the world, look at the flesh, go back to old ways, old nature, we begin to see that our actions line up with such things, and we find ourselves backtracking. Some people say, well, this is too much. I'm not even down for all of this. This seems too difficult. Well, let me look at it like this. Let me explain it like this. If you were an alcoholic, right, and God sets you free from alcoholism, can you go to the bar and hang out with your old buddies and watch them drink and smell the alcohol? No, that's difficult. What am I saying? I'm saying the stuff that you got yourself into, God's going to get you out, but because you intertwined in that sin, because you created soul ties with that thing, with that entity, right? There may be, I don't want to say a residue, because what God totally delivers us from, he does. But when we have attached ourselves to something, there is a possibility, right, for us to open that door again. When we are walking forward and we are not opening the doors that the enemy wants us to open, we're good. But once we have a taste and we open up a door and see sin and see that we like it, we see that it's good, right, to our flesh, when we close it, and we say, God, I'm sorry, forgive me, change me, and we close that door and we walk forward, sometimes we think, I wonder if I could open that door. Or we have the thoughts of what it was like when that door was open. So the more doors we open, the more thoughts we have of our past and what it was like to be in that sin, to enjoy that sin. So even when we move forward, we do not forget what sin was. We do not forget the enjoyment we had in sin. But if we never opened those doors, we never knew what it even tasted like. We never even knew the pleasures of sin in that area. What you open yourself up to, you have a possibility of going back to if you do not keep in sync with the Father. It's not about rules. It's not about regulations. It's about just following God and his grace covering our messy footsteps as we fail, as we falter, but as we strive to get up and go forth in the things that God has for us. Was this worth it, Jessica? Yes. Every day was worth it. Everything that I have endured over the past 7 years has been worth it, because I see that God's word is good, that change is possible, that he can change me. And if he can change me, he can change you. And that it's pure happiness when we live in right standing with God. We experience that joy, that peace, that self-control, that goodness, right? All of the fruits of the Spirit, we enjoy those things. Life with God is not perfect, and it is not completely easy. But life without God is hard. It's hell. There's spurts of sunshine. There's spurts of happiness, but the darkness that overlaps it is so heavy. But when we choose to walk with God, what he tells us, what he asks us to bear, picking up that cross, is so much lighter. It's equipping us with the tools that we need to set ourselves to break free from the chains and the bondage of the world. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to follow me, please, YouTube, find me at Love at the Cross. I love you guys. You Say by Lauren Daigle. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put it down there at the comments, okay? Subscribe to me on YouTube. I don't know, somewhere over there, okay? Subscribe. I love you. If you want to talk to me, reach out to me. You can reach out, inbox me on my Facebook, okay? Love at the Cross, and I will contact you via telephone if you desire to chat. Love you guys.